Hello and welcome back. This is Quadratics Lesson 2. I'm going to do this lesson just using a worksheet. We'll go over all the important bits using this worksheet. Again, the worksheet will be posted to the Google Classroom if you need it. If you don't have it, it's okay. Just write down what I write down. Let's get started. So, we have a word bank and we have some questions. So the standard form of a quadratic function is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. This one. Right, that's just a review. The shape of a quadratic equation is called a parabola. Parabola. This one here, parabola. That's this. It can go this way, or it can go this way. Right, it can go up, or it can go down. So, number 3, you have a quadratic here. Right. So this is your quadratic, and a line that cuts it in half, that cuts it in the middle. This line is called the axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry. That's this one here, axis of symmetry. So again, the line that cuts it in the middle is called the axis of symmetry. This point at the lowest point here, right, because that's the lowest, this is the lowest point here, and this is the highest point because the graph is pointing down. This point, that's part of the axis of symmetry, is called the vertex. This one here. All right. So the vertex, so when this vertex, the highest or lowest point, when it's on the highest point, so this point here, we call that a maximum. Because that's at the highest point, that's at the maximum point of this graph. Everything else goes down because the graph's pointing down, so this is the maximum. When the graph points up, this point is therefore called a minimum because that's the lowest point on the graph. Right, this graph here, this is the minimum. These are arrows, so your maximum on this type of graph is infinity, right? Because it goes on forever. This side weighs 8, it's the infinity side. But if it has a lowest point, then that point's called a minimum. If it has a highest point, then that point is called a maximum, because that's as high as it is. All right, so the solutions to a quadratic, what we did last lesson, the solutions are the x-intercepts. Right, where does your quadratic cross the x-axis? X-axis. In this case, it crosses here. Here, we'll make it a different color. We'll make it green. In this case, it crosses here and here. Right, those are, and the solutions are the x-intercepts. Solutions to a quadratic equation are also called roots and zeros. Also up here. Zeros and roots. All right, a little bit of vocabulary. So this is the number of solutions, right? It could have 2 roots or solutions or zeros. It could have 1 root or solution or 0. Or it could have no roots or solutions or zeros, right? Root, solution, zeros, called the same thing. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make sure everybody can see. So I'm going to use this. So here's our x-axis, is right here. And here's our parabola. And it only touches at one point. It only touches the x-axis at this point. So then that means there's only one root. There's only one solution because it only crossed at that point. The solution is 3. Right, because this is 1, 2, 3. As an ordered pair, it would be 3, 0. right? That's what that point is. So this one, here's your x-axis. This parabola doesn't touch this x-axis at all, so the number of roots is 0. It doesn't have any solution because it doesn't cross the x-axis. So zeros would be none. So on this one, I'm going to show you that just in case. Our x-axis is here, and this quadratic crosses here and here. So that means there's 2 roots, there's 2 solutions. This point, which is -2, and this point, which is 0. Because here's the y. So -2, -1, 0. So this point and 0. -2 and 0. So there's 2, and this is what they are. As an ordered pair, it would be that. So that's number of solutions. It's pretty simple when you can look at the graph and just see when it crosses the x-axis. All right, let's see what else we have. So remember, these have an arrow at the top. So your axis is symmetry. Remember, that's the point right in the middle, right? This is your vertex right here, right? This is a minimum because it's the low point on the y. So your vertex is 3, -2. Right, that's what this point is, 3, -2. Remember, an ordered pair is an x and a y. So this is your axis of symmetry. And that's just 3 on the x. Right, axis of symmetry is on the 3. So there's how many zeros? How many times does this quadratic cross the x? Crosses it twice, and it's 2 and 4. Because it crosses at 2 and it crosses at 4. Domain, we're really getting back to some older stuff now. The domain is the x. And range is y. Remember, for domain, you look at the furthest point to the left and the furthest point to the right. So in this one, the furthest point to the left is an arrow. So that means it's -infinity. And the furthest point to the right, again, is an arrow. So that's positive infinity. The range is the lowest point to the highest point. So the range, lowest point is at -2. And the highest point is infinity. All right, let's do a couple more of these. All right, so let's do this one. I made this little quadratic, this little parabola pointing down. So this is your x. So your roots are this point and this point. So this is your 0. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, -10. So -4 and -10 are the roots. So does it have a minimum or a maximum? It goes down forever, right? That's what the arrows mean, that it goes down till infinity. So that means it must have a maximum. So it has a maximum. So that maximum point is right here. And this is the vertex. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 on the y. And then this was -4, -5, -6, -7. -7 on the x. So our vertex, -7, 8. Remember, in points, x goes first. The axis of symmetry is this x value. And the x value we said is -7. This does have a y-intercept. It will eventually if you follow it down. Since I can't see it on the graph, I'm not going to worry about it. The domain, furthest point left to the furthest point right. All of these parabolas, since they have arrows, is going to be -infinity to positive infinity. Or you could say all real numbers for the domain. The range, lowest point the highest point. The lowest point is an arrow, so that's negative infinity. And the highest point is 8. I think that's it for today. I'll go over some math-based problems if I see something that's hard. But for now, I think this is it. This covers all the new stuff, which is vertex and number of solutions and maximum and minimum. All right, see y'all later.